Good morning, Stampers. Welcome. I'm Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair, and this is what I call Learning with Friends. And it is the last Thursday of the month, so today we're going to do a fun fold. Um, it is a simple version of a side step fun fold. So let's just flip my camera down and get started. So we're going to be making a version of this card here. It's going to be basically the same card with a few change-ups. And here you can see what this faux version of this fun fold looks like. It has the card base, and then this is actually a separate piece that gets glued on. Now, if you're not familiar with a sidestep card, this is basically the original version of, that I've seen anyway, a sidestep fun fold. And it opens like this. And then you can decorate it however you want. This is just my little template. But you can see there's some sort of complicated cutting, scoring. Anytime I have to cut into the middle of a piece of paper, it always gives me a little bit of stress. So today's version is much easier than this. And we're going to start with scoring our cardstock first. So rather than just that single card base, we actually have two. Like I said, we will have this kind of lopsided W fold, I guess you'd call it, and this top piece. So I have most of my cutting done, not all of it. And let me get this down here so I can see that, or you can see that, hopefully. I have tried to do as much cutting as possible ahead of time. So I'm calling this one the side card, which is this piece over here. And one of the things I really, it measures 8.5 by 3.5, but I've made it where I've varied the 3.5 a little bit too. So there are options, and it's just scored at our standard 4.25. So we're going to do all our scoring first. Let's get that cutting blade out of the way. And there's that piece. Now the other piece is the one with the kind of a little bit fancy scoring. And this piece is a standard card-based size of 8.5 by 5.5. And we are going to score it at 1.25. And here we don't have to do any cutting on this piece, and we just score all the way across. So it's much easier than that other one I showed you. So it's 1.25 and then 2.5 and then 5.5. And that completes all our scoring. Now I am going to have a little bit more cutting to do, but let's just go ahead and grab our bone folder here and give these score lines all a good crease. This one gets folded at the first one we did, which was 1.25, gets folded into a mountain, which means it gets bent up. So the crease comes, or the score line comes towards you. And then it just gets fan folded back. So we've got a valley fold down here. We'll give this a good crease. And then the last one is a mountain again. So it's kind of like you just fan fold your card. Okay, and that concludes that, what I call the card base of this side step. Now this piece will get adhered to this. And the one thing I want to show you, what's kind of nice about this, is you can put this anywhere you want. So you can put it on this side of your card, the left side. You can even put it in the center. And I've got one made each way. And this one was made with it put on the left side. I am going to try to remember, and not copy exactly, to put this one on the left side, or the right side. The other one is on the left side. Just to show that there is some variation. So scoring is done. So the next thing we're going to do is let me just show you what, we're gonna use this stamp set. It's made with the Decorative Trees stamp set and dies. Love these dies. We're only gonna use the sentiments from here, a couple of the sentiments, but I love these dies. See all the different trees and backgrounds. And I have them here. I have some of them set aside already because we're going to use some of them to do some cutting or die cutting. But look at all these fun backgrounds, and there's more to go with it. So that we're going to use that are in here. So a really fun set. This is in the current Fall Mini catalog. And the embossing folder, I used 2 embossing folders on this card. This one is called Painted Trees. And if you can see, this is what I used for this mat here. And then I used the snowflake sky on the background here and down here. This one doesn't show too much because it's pretty well covered. But I love this embossing folder. But I'll be honest with you, it doesn't show very much on this particular card. So I'm just going to go ahead and emboss all these pieces with the snowflake one today. But before we do that, let's go ahead and die cut our trees with those really fun dies. So get out my stuff here. So what I need for die cutting, I need my base plate, plate number 1. I need plate number 2. And then I need a couple of clear plates. And I'm gonna grab what I need to die cut here. I'm going to use silver foil today. So I have to think this through a little bit. Let's do these first. Here's the back of the card, and I need this. Gotta get in here, my things and cutting embosses in the way. We need a die here, and a die here, and die here are all cut out of foil. And I'm going to cut these out of the foil mats. That's just a great hint, always, because it saves you foil, right? Than using another piece. You just have to be a little bit careful. I'm just going to make sure which one I want here. So I'm missing a piece of silver foil. Where's the silver foil? Here I am. Okay. All right, here's the foil. This is for the back, and I am going to cut 2 of these smaller trees out of this silver foil, and I'm going to cut them out of the center. Now, the main thing you need to kind of pay attention to is because I'm going to have a border here, you want to make sure that it lays so you have enough space around it. And I have to find my other silver foil. Here it is. There we go. I dump everything in a little box and sometimes it gets messed up. So that should leave me enough border. So I'm going to see a border all the way around without the die cutting, but I'm also going to take advantage of the foil. Let me move this forward just a bit so you can see it. I have a lot of room on one work surface here. The other thing, when you're cutting foil, you want to use a plate that is relatively pristine, because if you have a lot of cutting marks on here, it will transfer to your foil. And we don't want that. The foil's too pretty, right? All right, so let's get this through here. And we will, that finishes these. And we will get those out of there in a minute. So here's our mat now. This is what it looks like, and we're just going to set that aside. And we're going to save that for the back. Get my eyes out of the way. And let's go ahead for, we now have this tree cut for here. And I have the one for the back, which has the little foil or the little holly leaves, or little holly leaves. So these two are now cut. And from this mat, I need this one. If you can see behind the dots, there is a piece of foil. And that one is solid because the one on the top will cover that up. So we are going to put this back on here. My foil back on. See that there? Stand crooked. And out of this one, I am going to cut just a solid piece. And again, I want to make sure that I leave enough border to so you don't see the cutout around it, right? But we're just maximizing the use of our foil here. You could use separate pieces. Foil's a little pricey, so I like to try to maximize it if I can. And all right, I have one more tree to cut, and it is the cut that is going to go on the top of the silver. And I am going to use this one here that looks like snowflakes. You see that? We're going to try that one on this particular card. Like I said, I'm going to try to mix it up just a bit. So we'll have two slightly different cards. And let's go ahead and die cut this out of this white. Once we get our die cutting and embossing done, then we can go ahead and just start assembling. Okay. And that looks like that's cut pretty good. We will get that out of there in a minute. We'll do that after, when I get my Stamp and Cut and Emboss. So now what's left is I need to emboss. And I'm going to get rid of plate number 2, and I'm going to get rid of my clear plates because the Snowflake Sky embossing folder, which I'm going to use, is a 3D embossing folder. If you don't know what you're looking at when you pull out your folders, if you haven't labeled them, I like to kind of label them. But the 3D ones are thicker. So with the 3D embossing folder, you need plate number 4. And you just need your base plate, your embossing folder, and plate number 4. So let's go ahead and put this in our folder. I typically try to line up with this little line here on the bottom, just to make it straight. I'll be honest, on the snowflake one, it doesn't really matter because snowflakes don't fall straight anyway, right? Okay, one more piece to emboss. You see that? They're pretty. Just adds a little interest and texture to it. And the other piece I want to emboss is the piece that was used for this little side here and this bottom. And that, I used a piece 5 3/8 by 4 1/4. I did it in one piece and then cut it. You could certainly use smaller pieces. You could cut them first. This just seemed one less trip through the embossing machine if I did them together. But I will have to grab my trimmer to cut them to size. But I think I think, I hope, I'm done with my stamp and cut and emboss. Let's get this out of here. Pretty, pretty, right? Great folder. So let me just move this out of my way and grab back my trimmer. And I want a piece for the bottom edge. So let me just grab my base here. This is the piece we're going to cover, this edge and this piece back here, so you can just see them behind them. Let me double check my dimensions. I want those cut to 1 1/8 and 2 7/8. Then I've already cut it to length. So we're going to make the bottom 1 1/8. When I have a skinny piece, I usually just use this side over here. So we're going to put that on the 1 1/8. And now we use the cutter. And then this piece, what did I say, 2 7/8. So let's put that right here at 2 7/8. I know some of you don't like 8s. I tend to use 8s and 16ths. Sometimes I like a little less border around the edge. So, all right, now we can go ahead and let's just adhere these embossed pieces on here. Let me get my stamp and seal. We could use liquid glue or stamp and seal, either is fine. I know some people will definitely tell you to use liquid adhesive when you're adhering embossing folders. I support that. I tend to agree with that for the most part. This one is not, it is called a 3D embossing folder, but it's not real heavy embossing. So the embossing isn't super deep, I would say. So the seal works, seems to work just fine. If it's really, really heavily textured, then for sure, I would say go ahead and use your liquid adhesive. I'm just going to try to keep my hands glue-free for as long as I can, because I'm sure we will pull out the liquid adhesive. In fact, we definitely will. All right, there we go. There, our base card has the embossing paper on there. So now let's go ahead and work on our, what I call a side card. So we have our silver mat and we have our embossed piece here. So let's go ahead and adhere those two. Like I said, we are basically just all assembly now. I'm hoping this will come together relatively quickly. Quick enough for you to at least get the idea. All right, and then this will get adhered directly to the front of our little side card. And you can see how I saved all that foil. I reduced it as opposed to covering it up. Who wants to cover up all that expensive, beautiful foil? You might as well use it where you can see it, right? Even if you didn't have a die cut to use for this one, you might just want to cut out a circle or a rectangle or something before you created your mat and save it for another project. In this case, I was able to use it all in this project. So, all right, that is now ready to adhere. But before I do that, I'm going to put my trees together. So let's get these trees out of here. And I should have had my little brush, but I don't. So we're just going to poke these out a bit. Bring my brush with me. It's on the other, actually it's in the other room. So let's get this stuff backing out of here. I hope it's cut so it comes out all right. Sometimes I'll run them through twice just to make sure, but these are brand new, been cutting really well, so I haven't had a lot of issue. These are delicate, so you do want to just take your time and get those pieces out of there. This is where the little take your pick tool does come in handy. You can just poke them out. Don't poke your finger though. You don't want to get blood on your snowflakes. These babies are a little sharp. Okay. Probably should have had this done before. All right. So there's our snowflake, and we're going to adhere that onto this silver tree. Now you're going to think, why didn't she put adhesive sheet behind there? That would have been the smart thing to do. And usually I remember to do that at about this time when I'm ready to go adhere it down. I did actually remember this time, but I wanted to show you, if you don't have adhesive sheet, another way to do this. So grab your silicone mat, make a little pile of glue. Not everybody has adhesive sheets, right? And then take a little sponge. And I just have an old Stampin' sponge. I've been cutting it off as it gets icky, and I just keep it in a little thing to keep it from getting too hard. And just dab a little bit on here. And go ahead and dab it on the back of the tree. Now this is foil, so you do want to kind of be careful not to get, well, this is not foil actually. The other ones I'm going to do are foil. So we'll just lay this on here. This is the first I'm going to see this too. The other one was gold, so let's see how I had a hard time deciding if I wanted to make the card when I made the first one out of silver or gold. So I thought, well, I'll just use one of each. And then when it's all done, we can pick. And this also gave me the opportunity to use some different die cuts. So you can see here I've got this one with the little dots. Here I've got one with snowflakes. And then the other one, we are going to put on basic white. Did I cut my basic? I did not. I have another thing here I need to die cut. All right. We missed that. We were not quite done. So let's go ahead and grab this again. Now I'm die cutting, so I need number 1. I need number 2 and 2 of the clear plates. And I need my tree. Where did I put my tree? Here's the tree. Okay, so we are going to use the solid tree to put this little die cut over, and then I have a trick I have to show you because these 2 trees are not the same size. And if you have this bundle, you probably have realized that these trees are not the same size, all of them. But there is a great way to manage that. All right, let's try this again. All right, so now I have my little tree. And we are going to take this little fancy one here. And where can I lay my table? And we got to get this stuff out of here. I definitely should have had my little brush. I'll just poke this out. Oh. Get that piece out of there without tearing these little pieces. Okay, do I have them all? I think so. That out of the way. And we're going to take our silicone mat again. Remember where I put it. Here we go. And I'm going to lay this over here in the non-gluey spot because I don't want to lay my foil in that glue. It does dry clear, but I just try to keep it off as best I can. Okay. And now we are going to lay this on this tree, and you're going to see this is shorter, but it only goes on the top. So we'll just lay it here on the top. I just kind of pinch it a little bit to line it up. If it's not lined up perfectly, it doesn't really matter. Trees are never perfect, right? And now we just use the bottom of this die cut to trim this off. And I got sticky on my thumb, which is sticking where I don't want it to. Let me get a little hand sanitizer here and see if I can get some of this glue off. All right, I think most of it's off. Still feels a little sticky. So we'll just trim along the bottom edge here. Roll that scrap away. And so now we have these two trees for our card front. While I'm at it, I might as well get this one out of my die for the back. This one looks like holly leaves. Now, if I were going to put, I'm not going to put this one on a backing because I'm going to put it right on the back of my sentiment layer or message layer, or whatever it is you want to call it. But this is also a little bit one that is shorter, just like the little swirly one that we just did. And so if I wanted to put it on a backing, because I could put it on red or night navy would probably be really pretty, right? I just have to look on the back to see if I have everything pushed out, especially when there's extra cuts on here. Or not really cuts, but partial cuts to make it look textured, like on the center of the leaves. Makes it a little harder to see if it's something that's got to be punched out or if it's just there. So there we go. Get rid of that out of there. Getting a big pile of snip things here. Should get that out of my way. So now we have our 3 trees all done, and let's go ahead and put the ones on the front first. Easier to put it on before I put it on the card, I think. We'll save this one for the back. So let's just stick these 2 on here, and I'm going to pop these up with dimensionals. If I can find my dimensionals, that is. Where did I put them? There's always something I forget when I come over here on the other side of the room. Someday I need a video station right next to my crafting area where all my stuff is. So, all right, let's go ahead and put some dimensionals on here. I like dimensionals, lots of dimensionals. And I probably need some of these little ones too. If you're wondering what the green lines are on here, that's so once I put them on, I can see that I haven't pulled off the backing. Have you ever done that? You pull them off and you think you got them all, and you stick it down and it's like, oh, it doesn't stick in one of the spots. And usually it's because you didn't, or because I didn't have all the dimensionals off. So I saw this suggestion from one of the Creative 8 team a while back. So now I always do that to my dimensionals. It has saved me frustration. Sometimes you get one, like 2 will be stuck down and 1 don't, and then you got to dig around underneath and get it off. And this just works better. So, and I probably put this one where it should have been. A little too close to the edge, so let's just move it over so I can overlap this a little bit more. I'm not totally overlapping it, but there we go. So I am calling that done. So let's go ahead and adhere this to this. Now, I said I'm gonna put this one on the other side today, all right? I should have shoved them over a little bit, but that's okay. I just have to make sure that this point of the tree doesn't protrude beyond here so I can get it in my envelope. So I'll just move it over a little bit. That's fine. I could put it in the center, right? I could put it over here, wherever I want it. So, and we are going to adhere the bottom of this directly to this piece down here. So what I'd like to do was just lay this here. So now I can see, and here, because this is bumped up, not in, I am going to use liquid adhesive. But now when I have it laying there, I can see where my liquid adhesive goes. So I don't extend it out too far beyond. I don't want to go out here where I'm not sticking it, right? All right, so I'm going to line this edge up with the edge of the card. And we'll hold that for just a second, just to make sure it sticks. Something's weird down here. I don't know what that was. Okay, I think it's stuck. Now, I can tell you, lay this flat and adhere this down. Just if you do that, be sure that it folds correctly. So it lay flat. You want this to lay flat. So what I really have done is I've just folded them both up, and then I add my adhesive down here. And here I am just going to use my snail because I can just add it across the bottom. And I will add a little piece up just a bit, and then just fold it down. And that way you know your card will lay flat and it will stand just fine. Okay. Sometimes it works out if it's flat. You can see mine is not totally flat, but it's more important that it's flat when your card is closed. So there we go. That is that. Now I have a backing piece on here. Let's do the back next. I am going to put this on my little backing piece. My backing piece is 5 1/4 by 2 1/2. Don't worry about the measurements. I'm going to put one of the other cards that I show you. Will be on my blog post tomorrow, and it will have all the dimensions. The dimensions are the same for all of them. So let's go ahead and need a little bit more glue here. And get some glue on this one. This is how my fingers get gluey, because I got my fingers stuck right on the glue. And let's just set this over here on this side of the backing. It just fits. Is it straight? Pretty good, huh? So now we're going to mat this to our piece of silver foil where we cut these little trees out of. And this, I'm going to use my snail. Obviously, no point in putting any glue in the center because it's just going to poke through these holes. And get somewhere where I don't want it. Centered. Pretty good, I guess. And a little more. And we will adhere this to the back. It kind of covers up most of this card. And we'll just center it on there. If you don't like that the edge of your card shows down here, to me it's not a big deal, but if for some reason that bothers you, what does bother me if it's crooked, and it is crooked. I don't know if I can get it crooked. You can always shorten your side card just a tad. I don't mind it showing, but I don't like it being crooked. I should huff on here. Make it come off a little bit better. Let's get this straight across the bottom. All right. No. Still not good. Still don't like it. We're gonna pull it all the way up. All right. Some things bother me. Crooked is one of them. Crooked or uneven gaps. There we go. I'm happy with that now. Okay, so there's the back of our card. That's where we will have room to write our message. Obviously, we don't have room on the front. And I did already, I should say this is heat embossed with silver embossing powder. I decided to do those ahead of time today. I'm going to cut a little flag on each end of my sentiment. So to do that, I just snip in the center and then I come in from the corner. Some people will use a punch of some sort. I have found this to be just as easy for me. So, but just as long as you do the little thing in the center first, then your flags on each end will be equal. If you do these, if you just come in and cut at these angles like this, and sometimes it's one steeper, I don't know, I just have trouble. So, and we will set this here. I'm going to keep it pretty much level with this. This is already on dimensionals, so we're just going to put some dimensionals over on this side. And I'm going to use up some pieces here from my edges. You guys use your edges? I use my edges all the time. I really like corners, to be honest, because it kind of gets, look at that. All right. Sometimes I think I like the edges better than the little hexagons. All right. We'll add that here. Get it straight across the bottom. And now all it needs is a little bit of sparkle. So I have these neutrals adhesive backed sequins. And they got gold and silver in there, so I used gold on my other card, of course. But let's use these silver ones here. Stick one on the sentiment. And let's put a couple. Where do I want it? Here? Maybe over here. It's the hardest part of the card. So where do I put this? All right. There we go. That gives us just a little bit of sparkle. And our card is done. So let me clean up my scraps here, and then let's take a look at the other cards. And we're gonna, oh, I have stuff everywhere. I don't really want, it'd be a pain to clean up from my floor. If you could see my floor, you'd know it would be a pain to clean. So there we go. So let's look, let's compare. Here's our two cards. We've got gold and used a different die cut here. I think I like the snowflake one even better than the dots. I thought the dots were pretty, but I think I like the snowflake even better. The smaller ones, I used the same ones. Just switched up the sides of the card. Don't think I have a preference there. And then here's the back of silver and a gold. I don't know, which one do you like best? I think I like them both. They're both definitely going to get used and sent to somebody. That's for sure. But let me show you the other two cards. The next one I'm going to show you, I actually mounted the card in the middle. And this uses Reindeer Fun stamp set. I've been playing a lot with this one. I was selected for the Clomp and Stompers Artisan of the Month in October. And this is the suite of products that I'm using for that. So they're so cute. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with these little reindeer. These were just stamped and then die cut, and I colored them with Stampin' Blends. This is the paper Reindeer Fun, it's called, I think, or Reindeer Days. It's called Reindeer Days. The suite, I think, is called Reindeer Fun. Something's Reindeer Fun, maybe it's the bundle. Little trees, die cut, there's lots of dies. And then the back, I just used some more of the DSP. So that is card number 3, actually 2, the other ones are the same, just modification. And then this is card, this last one I'm going to show you is made with the Country Birdhouse suite of products. And this one will be posted on my Fearless Stampin' Flair blog tomorrow. So you will be able to get a tutorial for that. This is the tutorial that'll be available for downloading. It's got all the cutting dimensions for all the pieces. And here are templates for both the card base and the sidecar, so you will know exactly how to cut your what I'm calling a faux side step fun card. So that is that one. This uses the Country Splendid Autumn designer paper. I thought that was really colorful, pretty nice birthday card for somebody this fall. And on the back, I just did the little piece of designer paper. This took one piece of the 6x6, the Splendid Autumn is 6x6. It used one piece. Here was a piece trimmed off the top. So I used that for my envelope and took one full sheet. These are 12 by 12. And so there was lots left over, of course. And the envelope here, I just used the same designer paper as this one. This one is small trees, like on here. And this one has the deer playing in the woods. So that is that one. This one has no designer series paper. It's just all white with, so these are silver foil and gold foil. So those are my 4 cards. What do you think? I hope you like them. Oh, I could show you. Here's how I decorated my envelope for the ones with the foil. I just used a piece of cardstock, embossed it with that same snowy snowflake sky, I think it's called. So that is that. Let me flip my camera back and we will wrap this up. Hi, I made it. I didn't miss any pieces that are over there on the other side of the room. So I feel good about that. I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, if you have questions, please leave a comment in the comments below the video. I will do my best to answer any and all questions. And again, thank you for joining. I'm so glad you're here. It's so much more fun to learn together than struggling by ourselves. And I hope you liked it. I hope you give it a try. It's easier than the standard side step fun fold. I think it's much easier, at least preparing the card bases. So have fun, have a great day, and I will see you next week. Until then, God bless. Bye-bye.